Okay, so let's just dive right into this. We're going to talk about something that's affecting a huge majority of Americans, but it's one of those things that makes people feel like they're totally alone in the struggle. A really widespread and, honestly, super stressful reality of living paycheck to paycheck.
So here's the number that really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. As of 2024, a staggering 65%, two-thirds of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And this isn't some static problem. It's actually getting worse. That number is up from 58% just the year before. We're talking about a clear and growing majority of the entire country.
And if you're thinking, oh, well, this is just a low-income issue, you've got to think again. More than half of all Americans who earn over $100,000 a year say they are also struggling to make ends meet. That right there shows you that this problem runs way, way deeper than just the size of your paycheck. So what in the world is going on? Well, let's start with the most obvious pressure point, this intense squeeze from just high costs everywhere. It's this constant battle so many people are fighting, where it feels like your income just can't keep up with the soaring price of the absolute basics. This chart, this just perfectly illustrates the core of the issue. After taxes, the typical American worker is bringing home about $3,300 a month. But just look at that chart. The median rent in the U.S. has shot up to over $2,000. That one single expense, it eats up 61% of your entire take-home pay before you've even bought a carton of milk. And it just keeps going. Now look at this table. Once you add in the average cost of food, about $690, and just $100 for out-of-pocket health stuff, you're already at 85% of your monthly income. 85%! That leaves practically nothing for gas to get to work, or childcare, or heaven forbid, paying down any debt. It's just pure survival mode.
Now, on top of those crushing costs, there's another huge factor trapping people, this vicious cycle of debt. And we're not just talking about borrowing money. We're talking about borrowing it at the highest interest rates we have seen in more than 20 years, which makes it feel almost impossible to escape.
So in 2023, the average credit card interest rate soared to a historic high of 22.8%. Just think about that for a second. The average person is carrying about $6,500 in credit card debt. With rates that high, the interest payments alone become this massive financial drain, trapping you in a cycle where you can just never seem to get ahead. So this brings us to a really critical question, right? With budgets stretched this thin and debt being this expensive, what happens when life does what it always does and throws you a curveball? A flat tire, an unexpected medical bill, your dishwasher breaks. What then? Well, the answer is that there's this huge safety net gap. Fewer than half of Americans have any kind of emergency savings. So that one single financial shock, that surprise car repair, it has to go straight onto a high-interest credit card. And this doesn't just solve the problem in the moment, it actually deepens the debt trap and reinforces that whole cycle of financial stress. Okay, so let's pivot for a second to a third factor, one that's a little more subtle. It helps explain why even those people earning six figures are struggling. We're talking about the hidden drain of lifestyle inflation. This is the reason why a bigger paycheck, which should feel like the solution, right? It often doesn't actually lead to any more security. This is what financial experts call lifestyle creep. And it's a really simple, really human tendency. As our income goes up, so does our spending on things that aren't, strict necessities. And that gradual increase, slowly, and a lot of times silently, just eats away at any new potential we have for saving money. And what's interesting is that there are kind of two forms of this. On the one hand, you've got luxury creep. That's the obvious one. You get a promotion, you decide you deserve a nicer car or some better clothes. You're basically trading future security for happiness right now. But then there's necessary creep, and this one is way more invisible. This is when you can finally start paying for things you had to skip when you were making less. Things like regular dental checkups or proper car maintenance, or even just healthier food. These are necessary costs, but they can eat up a whole raise before you even notice it. So, after looking at all these pressures, the big question is, how do you break the cycle? It's not easy for sure, but the good news is there are clear, expert-backed steps that you can take to start regaining a sense of control over your financial life. All right, here's the 5-step game plan. First, it starts with your mindset. Check your money mood. What that means is connecting your feelings, like stress or wanting a reward, to your spending habits. Second, pay yourself first. This is a classic for a reason. Automate even a tiny savings deduction with every paycheck so it just happens without you even thinking about it. Third, a basic budget. You can't change what you don't measure. Just track where every dollar is going for a month to see what's really happening. The fourth, manage that high-interest debt. Look into things like a 0% balance transfer card. That can give you some breathing room to actually pay down the principal without battling that crippling interest. And finally, number 5, celebrate the small wins. Did you pay off a small debt? Did you stick to your budget for a week? Acknowledge it. This whole thing is about building momentum and staying motivated. Just remember, it's about progress, not perfection.
You know, living this way is it's exhausting. And if you're feeling stressed out about your finances, please know this. You are so not alone. Over 70% of Americans say they feel the exact same way. This is not a personal failing. It is a massive, shared national challenge.
And that brings us to our final thought here. One expert called the path to financial literacy the civil rights issue of this generation. Wow, that's a really powerful idea, isn't it? It suggests that by understanding the forces working against us and by taking these small, deliberate steps, we can move from just surviving to finally building a secure future for ourselves. This kind of knowledge isn't just about money, it's really a form of freedom.